Peri Gilpin returns as Roz for already the second time this season alone on the Frasier revival. Let's talk about the latest episode, Cape Cod. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my TV review for the new Frasier episode. We are in season 2, episode 6, and this is called Cape Cod. And of course, you can see this on Paramount Plus. We're more than halfway now through season 2. There's only 4 episodes left, and a lot of surprises probably yet to come. But we keep delving sort of back into the OG Frasier era. Last week we had BB Glazer return as his fantastic agent, played by Harriet Sansom Harris, and this episode, Peri Gilpin is back already. We already had one Roz episode this season. We had one last season. So she's becoming more of a recurring character than a special guest star at this point. But look, we'll get to the specifics of this episode and my thoughts on it in just a second. First, though, let me welcome you back to the channel. Thank you for subscribing if you are already one of my subs. But if you're not, please consider hitting that subscribe button, the notification bell as well, so you can get the alerts for all my new drops. I do the Frasier reviews every Thursday or Friday whenever I can get to that. But the new episodes premiere on Paramount Plus on Thursdays. So, usually by Friday morning, Friday afternoon, I will get the videos up. But look, I do a lot more on this channel than just Frasier. I do a lot of movie and TV stuff, and just about every day I post at least one video. I try to anyway. So always a lot to check out. But please consider liking this video as well, and comment below. I didn't hear from you guys too much on the last Frasier episode. I had a lot of views on the video, but I love chatting with you guys in the comments about what you thought of these episodes. So let me know what you think about this episode called Cape Cod. So let's get to it. This was directed by Sheldon Epps, and this is his first entry with the new version of Frasier, but he has directed a lot of multi-camera television over the decades. He started in the very early 90s with the what's his name? Burt Reynolds show, Evening Shade. But he's done some Friends episodes and 22 episodes of the original Frasier series he directed. And he still, continues to work today, obviously not just with this episode, but he's directed a few episodes of The Upshaws, which is a multi-camera sitcom on Netflix. I believe that's the one with Mike Epps and Wanda Sykes, maybe. But so looking at his filmography, it looks like it's just about all multi-camera stuff. I know single camera stuff is the way right now, but obviously he feels comfortable in the multi-camera format, and so he directs this episode. And this was written by Joe Cristaldi and Chris Harris, who have written several of the Reboot episodes, including the first 2 for this season alone. So we've already seen some episodes from them. So if you are new to my Frasier reviews, let me tell you, I do go over the episodes, kind of scene by scene and everything. So yes, there are spoilers here. So if you haven't seen the episode yet, definitely you want to check that out. So this is all about a trip up to the Cape. I will say that there is a tag scene both at the beginning and then over the end credits with Alan and Olivia. That's the only time they appear in this episode. It's kind of a funny chain of events where Alan doesn't realize that he is wearing a name tag with his name and his profession on it, and he gets basically ripped off by this guy who sees the name tag, pretends like he's an old friend, and Alan is unaware that he's wearing the sticker. So, I have no idea, how this guy knew my name, but he came up to me, and turns out we're old friends, and and I had forgotten about him, this and that and the other thing, letting Alan basically do all the talking and kind of dig his own hole for knowing this guy, but he ripped off his wallet and all that. So that was, kind of a funny little intro. But in that intro, we learn that Eve is ready for dating. And Frasier sees Eve and Freddie over in the corner, kind of looking at the dating sites and stuff, and thinking, wouldn't it be nice to kind of get them together? Olivia kind of mentions that, and he agrees. And look, I think this is the obvious will they or won't they of this series. Of course, Cheers had Sam and Diane, and Frasier had, I don't know, I guess Frasier and Roz maybe, and they did end up getting together, which does play into this episode too. We'll get to that. And it looks like that Freddie and Eve are going to be this series kind of will they or won't they couple. So I think eventually we'll probably see them get together, but now is not the time, as we learn as the episode commences. But that's it for Olivia and Alan. We can put them aside for now. Now we are going into Cape Cod. So Peri Gilpin returns, like I mentioned several times, as Roz. And one of my commenters last week did mention, because I was talking about Harriet Sansom Harris returning as BB, and they had mentioned, unfortunately, this show is at its best when it is sort of culling characters from the past. And look, this is an interesting there's an interesting discussion to be had, I think, about that topic. Because, look, I'm of two minds. I agree that probably the best episodes of this series have been, the season 1 episode with Lilith. The season finale with Roz was definitely up there as well from last year. And then, so far this season, I think the BB Glazer episode was probably my favorite. This one here that we're talking about, Cape Cod, is, right about on par with that. And so this is interesting because, look, you've got an established show in the original Frasier. And of course, look, Frasier, we knew him from Cheers even before that. And when they talked about spinning Frasier off into his own show, I think a lot of people were like, really? Like, that's the character you want to give his own show to? But they uprooted him, put him in Seattle, different part of the country. Okay, great. Gave him all new people. And everybody gelled right away with that cast. Here, I think they're having some problems with that. And I don't know if part of the reason is we're only getting 10 episodes a season, and on a show where we don't know anybody, we're sort of all, we're getting to know everybody equally. But here we already clearly know Frasier, and we've known him for decades. And so we have this issue of, okay, how do we get the new cast to gel with Frasier the way that the old cast did? And unfortunately, it just hasn't quite happened yet. Occasionally, yes. And I think Alan is a great example of that. I talk about that all the time, how much I really like the Alan character. Freddie's, okay. He's definitely doing his bit as kind of a Martin stand-in. Frasier now the older parent, to Martin and Frasier in the original series. But everybody else, I think, me, as well as according to the comments, that you guys feel this as well, there's a little bit of a struggle to connect with Eve, Olivia, and David. And I think that bringing in some of these old cast members isn't really helping that, because we're then focusing on, oh my God, BB's back, or whatever, and not really giving us the chance at that, at that new cast. And I think that was something that they did very smartly with Frasier. I think, I could be wrong on this, but I think the first cast member from Cheers to show up was Sam, and that was, it might not have even been in the first season. It could have been the beginning of season 2, but if it was in season 1, it was like well into season 1. Well, Lilith, I guess, showed up before that, I suppose, but I count her kind of as a recurring character on Frasier anyway, but I guess that's true. Lilith might have been before Ted Danson, but anyway, so I think there's a conundrum there, because I agree with that commenter that I think the best episodes of this new version of Frasier are ones that include the old cast members. And even last week with the BB Glazer episode, I think the funniest lines came from things that were so-called written by Niles. And it made me miss the Niles character. So I don't know. But here I will say that I think we've integrated Roz very, very well in with some of the new cast members. And, the last time she was on, she went out with Eve and Olivia. I think that was an attempt to maybe make them a little bit more relatable, maybe give them some more chemistry. And now we're having Roz, kind of with the men of the cast, David and, well, Eve's there too, but David and Freddie. So the basic premise is that they go to the Cape, and Roz and Frasier kind of have this idea to get Freddie and Eve together, let them realize that maybe they have feelings for each other, whatever. But all the while, as happens on this show a lot, signals get crossed a little bit. Frasier kind of shoos them out to the porch, and Freddie realizes right away, oh my God, this is the mood music that my dad uses when he wants to be romantic, when he wants to be in the mood, what have you. And so they think that it's Frasier and Roz that Frasier wants to get together, not him and Eve. And then all the while we have Roz's daughter, Alice, who we learned that Frasier last saw when she was 12. But of course, we know her, as the audience, as just a little baby. She was, maybe 3 or 4 when the show ended. So he says, oh, I last saw you when you were 12. But now she is, this beautiful young woman. And she has possible designs on Freddie, because of course they knew each other when they were very wee as well. But David has designs on Alice. And so it's a little bit reminiscent of my personal favorite Frasier episode, The Ski Lodge, where there's sort of a lot of people pairing off and mixed signals and crossed wires and all of that. And I think that was certainly intentional. I think people know that that is highly regarded as one of the great Frasier episodes. So I think it was not unintentional that they decided to sort of have a similarly themed episode with this one. But okay, before I even get to the episode, let's get back sort of to the old cast member bits. So we've already had 2 episodes now in this season alone with Roz, and we're only in episode 6. I think they are angling, and they keep talking about how Alice is going to school in Boston, so, that's why Roz is there, and it makes sense, and this and that and the other thing. Are they angling to make Roz a regular cast member in season 3? For one, I would be all about it. I would be very open to that, because I do think that part of the missing chemistry is just how brilliantly those actors gelled from the original show. And not having any of them here, I think really does hurt it a little bit. Obviously, John Mahoney has passed away. David Hyde Pierce has very much said he doesn't want any part of it. So Roz makes the most sense. And I think her banter with Frasier is just, it's back to where it was. It's like they just never left, they picked up exactly where they left off. And I think having her as a regular cast member in season 3 and forward, honestly, I think could make a world of difference for this show and the people in it. Because I think, look, Peri Gilpin, it's funny. I only really know her from Frasier. I know she's done other things, and I've probably seen her in a movie as a supporting actress, or somebody in the background of something or whatever. But by and large, Frasier is really the only thing I know her from. But she is so great as this character, and I do think, and we saw it in the Girls' Night episode, I do think that she can kind of gel with all of these different characters the way she does with Kelsey Grammer. And I think it's honestly what the show needs, because this is, clearly one of the best episodes of the season. But anyway, that's all kind of plot-wise. We learn that Freddie and Eve are not ready. Certainly Eve is not ready to be with someone. She's still, mourning the loss of her fiance, right? I keep forgetting. I don't think they ever got married, but her fiance, who was a firefighter friend of Freddie's, and so she's still mourning him. We saw, his tribute with the memorial episode a couple weeks ago, and she confides in Roz that when she thinks Roz is talking about Roz and Frasier, Roz is actually talking about Eve and Freddie, and Eve is like, look, I do kind of want to get back out there, but I feel like the next person that I'm with is just going to be kind of a throwaway. Like, I'm never going to want to see that person again. And so then Roz kind of, puts a flag on the play to Frasier and says, oh, Frasier, no, we can't get these guys together. We got to try and separate them. But the seed has already been planted for Freddie and Eve. So Frasier, tries to kind of put the brakes on that while they are trying to get Frasier and Roz together. So anyway, it ends up just being, a big mix of stuff. And meanwhile, David is trying to play this, I don't know, socio-political game or something. I forget what it's called, but there's a lot of rules to it, and so he's having people go out on the porch for whatever it is, like to be the chancellors of the whatever, and so people are pairing off there, and Alice is kind of out there with Freddie, and then David comes out because he wants to be with Alice, and so it's just a lot of that sort of sort of hallmark farce that Frasier is really honestly known for, and I think it's why the Ski Lodge is such a successful episode in that series. So a lot of that happens, and look, I mean that's the whole episode really, and as a result, I do think it is one of the stronger ones, because they're playing to the strengths here of wordplay and miscommunication and sort of running around with different characters and whispering this to this person, and I think there are few shows that have done it as well as Frasier. And really, the predecessor to that is Woody's wedding episode of Cheers, which was the first episode, I think, well, except maybe the Thanksgiving episode, that took place, the majority, outside the bar. I think the entire episode, in fact, took place in just the kitchen of Kelly Gaines's house. And that was so great. And that was such a late episode. I think that was season 10 of Cheers. And so that kind of planted the seeds for, okay, these writers are good at this. Kelsey Grammer's clearly adept at handling this, so they tried it with Frasier, and every time it was a huge success. So I'm glad that they kind of revived that. We've had a couple of farcical moments and scenes certainly with this revival, but this was an entire episode of nothing but, and I think it worked. And I think having Peri Gilpin on hand worked as well. So look, overall, this is obviously one of my favorite episodes so far of this season, and maybe of the series as a whole. Put it out there now. I'm gonna lead the charge to bring Peri Gilpin on as a regular for season 3 and forward, because I really think that is kind of the injection that this show needs to, I don't know, get us on board a little more with some of these characters that I know I personally am a little bit more lukewarm about. So I will leave Cape Cod with the same grade as last week's episode, an A-, and I want to see more of this kind of stuff on Frasier. I think it's at its best when it's playing into the strengths that made the original so great. And I think this was one of those episodes. All right, so only 4 more to go. Next week's episode is entitled My Brilliant Sister. And so I don't know who has the sister in that episode, but I guess we'll find out next week. And I don't see any guest stars listed, so maybe this will be one with just the core cast of the Frasier reboot and the revival, and we'll go from there. But all right, thank you so much for watching Dan Reviews It, and I'll see you next time. Bye.